You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
This is Tea Break Archaeology, where we explore the ancient origins of everyday objects. Hello and welcome to episode 50, 50, oh my goodness, of Tea Break Archaeology. My name is Matilda and this is part 2 of our Tea Break with Ronja Lau, talking all about textiles archaeology and the Duerrnberg period, which is a new thing that we've come up with because Duerrnberg is way more interesting than Latin. So, More importantly, we're going to be talking about the Duerrnberg period and her PhD project, which looks at salty clothes. So if you haven't listened into the past episode, please do, because otherwise there might be some things in this episode that are a bit confusing. But so we talked a little bit in the last episode about the kind of background to the site, why it's important, what exactly you study. How much are you able to tell us about kind of some of the results or some of the things that you're already discovering from these analyses?
Hello. Yes, thank you that I'm back again. And of course, I love to talk about textiles, so this is no problem for me.
Again, that I just went straight back into it.
Yeah, so I forgot the question already.
That's fine. It was a very long-winded question. So I was basically asking, what can you tell us stuff about? Because well, we talked about so many different kinds of cool analysis that you've been doing on the textiles in the last episode. So is there anything kind of fun? I guess maybe we can start small. What would your favorite, fun fact from your project be? What's something that you drop as a little fun bomb?
Yeah, so I don't know, the fun fact. Let's say sometimes when I look at the textiles, of course, I try to extract all of the data, like I said before. And there are still so many things that I find new in the textiles. So new things. And the past year, I was working on the textiles and I looked at one of the textiles, which was dark blue. So in the textiles, there's a dark blue color, which is very commonly used. And I was looking at it under the microscope and there was suddenly like really red fibers striking within the blue ones. And I was like, I never seen that before. So interesting. But yeah, okay, just one case, And then I continued. And then, suddenly 20 more cases of those textiles with blue and red fibers in them I have found. So I was asking myself, wow, what is that? Why did they do that? And then I was remembering kindergarten. And then I was like, if you mix blue and red together, what color do you get?
See,
purple.
Pay attention in kindergarten, people. This is what we're saying. You too can do textile archaeology if you pay attention to the color wheel in kindergarten.
Right? So isn't that a strange moment? Because I was like, dude, I'm writing my PhD and then I have to remember what I did.
Everything we learn is important. When people say, how will this be relevant in my future life? This is how, Bob. This is how.
You never know. You never know.
Okay, so purple is...
purple. Right. So then I thought, okay, purple is such an important color also in antiquity, right? Because in the Mediterranean, purple also for the Romans, but also pre-Roman era, purple in textiles is one of the most expensive and coolest colors ever. It comes from a mollusk, so from a snail, basically from the sea. Ooh. And it dyes purple, like the royal purple color. And of course, it's important and also expensive. And then I thought, okay, but of course, in the time period I'm working on the Duerrnberg, people already had purple in the Mediterranean. And I knew that the Duerrnberg people, they had contact to Greece or to Italy because of the vases and everything we find in the grave. So they knew what people had in the Mediterranean. They knew what they probably also were wearing.
Yeah.
And they wanted maybe to have purple textiles too. So, but what did they do? I did not find
the kindergarten color wheel.
They went to kindergarten.
This is the only result I'm getting from this, is that they had kindergarten color wheels. That's what you're saying, right? That's the fun fact.
No, obviously. No, of course. And then they wanted to I want to have this purple too, but how can I make this purple without actually spending lots and lots of, whatever on buying those textiles? Yeah. I will try to imitate this purple. So they try to imitate it by mixing blue and red dyed fibers together. So they dye the fibers from the sheep first, and then they mix it, like with combing, for example, and then they spin the fibers, and then they weave the spun fibers to a textile. And then you have also from afar, but not, you don't have to step away so far, like maybe like a few centimeters, you already have a purple impression on the textile.
I was about to say, can you imagine people going, don't come closer, just stay over there. No, I swear it's purple. I swear, don't come closer.
No, but really, this was like one of the best imitations to make purple because you have the most control. And also, this is the very first example of imitating purple in this way ever.
Oh, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Europe, like everywhere.
They had snail knockoffs in Duerrnberg mines.
Yeah.
The earliest knockoffs available.
I always call them lovingly fake purple. So my fake purple textiles, there are later ones in the Middle Ages in Europe. Yeah. And there are examples from, for example, the Near East, a bit younger also. But still, I've asked many colleagues, hey, this is the finds I have. You are the Mediterranean archaeologist. Where are your finds? How can I compare them? And everyone was like, no, we don't have them. Don't know what to do.
What? You don't have textiles? Oh, weird. I had loads of textiles. That's so weird that are you sure you don't have textiles? Oh, poor you.
For sure they have the original, which is cool because like the original purple is interesting because there are different shades of purple too. We always have in mind there's one purple, but that's not true. So there are different shades. And so now I was asking myself, okay, so is the shade, my Celtic Duerrnberg people were imitating, like, is the base one of these shades that they really made like in Italy or Greece? So they must have seen the color and they must have seen that, this is more like more of a bluish purple, or this is more like of a reddish purple, because they're different ones. And mine in Duerrnberg, they are more bluish purple ones actually. So,
and because you, as people who listen to our previous episode will know, you are also involved in like living history and experimental archaeology. Have you tried to do that, to make fake purple from different dyes?
Yeah, so you can make fake purple from different dyes. I have been to a workshop before where we also double dyed, for example. So you can dye first red and then dye blue on top of it. You also get a purplish color, but it's always a bit brownish. So it's never the color you want to have.
Yeah.
So actually mixing the fibers together gives you more control, on which color you want to achieve, like in the moment. So you don't have to stress out on it. And I did that too. And I will also do it now for the new exhibition in the Celtic Museum in Hallein. So we talked about this before. Yeah. So if you will visit one time, maybe next year or the end of this year, you will find in one of the rooms, you will find a fake purple original and you will find a fake purple reconstruction, which is made by me. So I'm currently on that.
Amazing. And then you can turn to whoever's with you and be like, did you know?
Fun fact.
You could be that person. It'll be a great fun fact. That is an excellent fun fact. I like that fun fact nearly took us to the end of this section because it was such an interesting fun fact. But okay. I mean, has there been anything else? I mean, that already sounds quite surprising, to be honest. But one of my other questions that I had for you was, what's been the most kind of surprising result? Or I guess, has there been something that was expected, something that was unexpected, aside from that you were allowed to tell us?
Yeah. So the other thing which would be also quite interesting for the people in general would be, for example, if you try to picture a Celtic person in your head and what the person is wearing and also what patterns the person is wearing, you would think about probably some Czech patterns or like Asterix and Obelix kind of style of patterns or whatever.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But Czech would be, I think, the first pattern you would think about. And so the thing is, in my textiles, and I told you there are over 2,000 samples I have, Czech pattern makes up only 7%.
Oh, okay.
Like that in the textiles. So Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but Celtic people did not like Czech pattern that much.
It was probably the classic, right, of someone finding a few examples of it and being like, oh, everyone must have worn Czech patterns in the past.
Yeah, probably. Like, yeah, there are a few examples for sure, also from other parts of Europe.
Yeah.
But now if you have like real data and lots of data, I must say, I'm sorry, stripes were more modern in that time, more fashionable.
That is hilarious because I would never picture anyone in prehistory wearing stripes, like pinstripe. Like, can you imagine like a pinstripe suit or something?
Yeah,
Purple, fake pinstripe.
They're really... Now I do. But actually, they're really thin pinstripes. So not that block stripes, that really thick ones. They're also really delicate, like really fine and really, like a bit humble. Like, oh no, I'm not into big patterns, I'm a decent girl.
Oh, wow.
So this kind of pattern, and this also changes. In Hallstatt, it was the other way around, actually. In Hallstatt, they were using all of the patterns, big, like, the patterns, big block, check, big block, stripes, everything big. And then in Duerrnberg, they calmed a bit down somehow and found their own kind of, their own fashion, their own design. I don't know.
Could they have been influenced by the Mediterranean? Because they were also a little less... I'm saying this as if I know what I'm talking about. But like, were they also less blocky in their fashions in that?
We guess so. So the textiles from the Mediterranean, we also have a few. So this is not a bad situation. But most of them are from mineralized metal objects. So we don't know exactly if they had patterns because we cannot see them anymore. From the pictorial sources, we can maybe see like, okay, we don't see that many patterns. Yeah. But of course, the possibility that they got influenced by other people from other areas is of course there. Like I said with the fake purple, they also got influenced somehow. So there's probably a special amount of influence, a special amount of your own creations and your own traditions also in clothing, but we don't know for sure.
That's so interesting. Oh gosh. So, I mean, that's already too, I assume you can't tell us everything because A, you don't have the results, or B, you're publishing about it from the rest of the project. But I mean, that's already two really interesting new things that have come up then from this, which just goes to highlight what we were talking about last episode, that this is important stuff that's being done. There is a reason it is being funded and we should keep funding it because it is very important. Oh, that's so exciting. And are there any kind of hypotheses that you have that have been, I don't know, either proven or disproven, or apart from the Czech pattern, which of course I imagine was your main research question, did they wear tartan?
Did people really look like in Asterix and Obelix?
Did Asterix and Obelix exist?
Yeah, so the hypothesis which I'm working on at the moment is basically still fixing or figuring out the typology and the chronology of the textiles, which is difficult because I have like 500 years in which I have to sort the textiles in. And because the textiles in the Duerrnberg are actually quite uniform, you cannot really see a special, like, oh, these should be the older ones, this should be the younger ones. I have some hints which give away, like, maybe these are more Hallstatt period ones. Right. For example, textiles with spin patterns. So some textiles have patterns made out of the spin direction of the threads, either if they're right or left. So this is a very, in quotes, old tradition, which is used mainly in the Hallstatt period. So I can quite confidently say that these are probably the older ones. But far from that, it is really difficult to separate the older textiles from the youngest. That's why I have to wait for C14 dating to help me a bit with the typology and to sort what I think maybe the stripes are a bit younger and the checks we have from the 7%, maybe they're a bit older. Right. But I don't know for sure. So I will follow that. And also the linen textiles there are no linen textiles in Hallstatt at all from the Iron Age. So this pops up very sudden and quite a lot because 1/3 of the textiles I have are made out of linen. So I'm still puzzled where to put these. And why are they there suddenly? And why are they so high quality? Why are they
Is that
so
just
good?
like a random traveling salesman who came with all his linens and was like, hello, ladies, let me show you this new material.
Like, take my money.
Yes, oh my goodness. Look, it's purple, darlings. And then it's not purple. Oh, no, he tricked us.
Yeah. So there are many questions still open, which I have to investigate in the last year of my PhD now.
Well, and, future research projects, because as we mentioned last episode, one of the main things to do as an academic is to try and think about what you're going to do when you finish your current project. So always looking ahead. Okay, we're going to have a very quick break to top up our tea, but we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I hope the teacup is fuller, or the water glass in Ronja's case, and the biscuit jar is emptier. So, I'm very excited to hear more about your research when you get all of these fun results back. And at the end of, you've got one more year left, you said?
Yeah, so this is now my last year because I actually get funding. I was ashamed to say I got funding. But I get funding until August this year, but I will extend for half a year more because I'm now in the writing and evaluating everything phase.
Yeah.
And I need a bit of, a puffer at the end. Yeah. So this is exactly now 1 year and then I will be done.
Exciting. And do you find, because this is something that I remember discovering in my PhD, that there's a lot of stuff looking back at like the first year or two, even the analysis that I was doing or like the approaches I used. And at the end of my PhD, I was sort of thinking, why did I do it that way? Like, I wish I'd done it this way instead. Do you find that you've gained so much more experience even through this project, or is it just developing existing skills, would you say?
Yeah, good question. So I think my perspective changed a bit because for my master's, I was only working on mineralized textiles. So it was really hard to work on them, and all the skills I developed while working on them, they're a bit over the top now. I don't have to use all of them.
Just to clarify, what are mineralized textiles?
Yeah, so the mineralized textiles are usually when you are excavating graveyards, for example, and you find lots of metal objects, right? Mm-hmm. Swords and weapons and jewelry, blah, blah, all of that out of metal.
All the time we find this, listeners, all the time. In every single excavation, we just find swords and jewelry. And it's true. It's totally true. Yeah.
But sometimes it happens that and also sometimes it happens that in the patina of the metal objects, textiles get preserved because like the rust, for example, is building around the metal object and it's including the textile into the rust, basically. We call it pseudomorph. So the textile itself is not there anymore, but it's like a cast, like only the outside and maybe the imprints are there. So they are not colorful anymore. They are not flexible anymore, just like an imprint.
Yeah.
So to see a textile on there and to investigate it, to document it, it's really hard work because they're in a bad condition. So I'm now super privileged that, I can just open a bag full of 2,000 of textiles and they are flexible and colorful and you just have to look at them, I don't want to say what, this is quite easy.
Honestly, between you going to the Mediterranean archaeologists and being like, what, you don't have textiles? And you going to like the mineralized textile people and going like, wait, you can't just analyze like 100 fragments a day?
I think they have like a love-hate relationship with me. Like, they're like wow,
that's wrong, your girl.
But what I of course gained is that the amount of information and also evaluating all of the data and being possible to do all of the analysis, this is new. Like this I've not done before. So of course I'm learning many new things, which is good for the future because I learned how to do fiber analysis with an SEM. With the mineralized textiles, you almost can never do that. So being now able to use a scanning electron microscope, wow, this is new on my skill set, which I'm really thankful to do so. Yeah. Or like many other things. So there's of course a gain of skills. Very different to the ones I had before. So yeah.
And you've already highlighted a bit then the different, like even within the field of textiles archaeology, which is already, as you mentioned, kind of last episode quite a small field still, relatively. I mean, small community. And there's already so many different sort of facets of textile archaeology. So you can have really well-preserved textiles, you can have badly preserved, you can have no textile remains, only pictographic remains. I mean, how many different specialisms are there within the field, or is it still quite broad?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think depending also on the country and on the time period, there are many different aspects about textile archaeology. So you can have people who are dealing with textile tools only, like spindle whorls and loom weights and stuff like that. And you can have people who are dealing with statues only and investigating the clothing the statues are wearing, or investigating with forgot the methods. They're scanning statues and finding out how they were painted before.
Right, yeah.
You know, which also gives hints on which colors of the textiles there were, maybe.
Right.
So there are many different aspects. And I think that this is so great that we all come together and that we all consider ourselves textile archaeologists, which does not mean that we always work with textiles or like, you know, which you would think is dealing with textiles. This gives so many insights and so many opportunities to broaden your own horizon and to think like, you know, I'm writing a chapter about fake purple. I have to investigate into Roman and Greek archaeology, and I have to read written sources, which is basically never happening in prehistoric archaeology.
Because wrote in the past? Oh my goodness.
And then also think about, maybe I should ask person XY because she's investigating the statues, and maybe she has seen, you know, is there purple color in statues? I don't know. So you really get the opportunity in our field, to broaden your horizon and to look over the Tellerrand, as we would say.
Yes. Which is like one of the real benefits then of having a discipline that's not only small but relatively new. Because I mean, I'm just thinking my stuff, like I was working with bone and antler for my PhD, and that's just been going on for hundreds of years, you know, as a discipline. And it's so kind of, you suddenly discover a paper that you're like, oh, this is really interesting. Who wrote it? And you've no idea who the person is. Like, there's such a wide variety of different archaeological specialisms in general. So it's so nice to hear that, at least within textiles archaeology, it seems that it is quite a close-knit community. Like, excuse the pun. So people are actually interacting and collaborating in that way.
Yeah, it really is. And I really enjoy it. And I want to emphasize that I think this should be more common in archaeology, you know, to be like more of a European connected group of researchers. Yes. Because like we only sometimes, also in Germany, we only sit in our country and we do our research in our language, and we don't look, you know, over the border. And I think this is super sad, because also prehistoric societies, they were not using our borders today. Like, you know, we have to get in contact with our colleagues. And I really enjoy going to conferences in our field, because of course there's always the basically the same people, but there are already new people coming to the field, and young people, and the exchange is really good. We learn a lot from the older, I don't want to say older, but you know, the generation before us,
elders, yes,
who are still struggling way harder than we do, and they are willingly giving information and willingly sharing their experience with younger people. And I think this is very unique in archaeology. Yes. I have not seen this in other areas, and I really enjoy that. And I'm thankful for my community that we are handling it like this.
Yeah. And just very quickly, because you mentioned sort of a European-wide, and obviously your research topic is very specific to kind of Central Europe. How is the kind of international textile archaeology community? Is it something that's still only taking off in other parts of the world? Is it something that's established but sort of separate in different international regions?
Yeah, I have heard from some colleagues which had projects, for example, in China or also more Eastern regions. They're also doing really good. So I think we should look out a bit more what the other colleagues are doing, depending also on the quality of textiles they have. But sometimes they're a bit further, or they get funding more easily.
Right.
We never know which technologies they use or what methods. So I think, we are doing good, but other people also in the world are doing also really good in textile research.
Yeah.
So there are many cool results. And in Egypt, for example, there are also really nice textiles, and they're doing many good projects and with great researchers. And the ones I know from China, because they have, of course, all of the nice silk textiles. And for Europe, this can also be interesting because silk root archaeology is vital for European antiquity.
Yes,
and
true.
they should, I think, work a bit closer together. So
Yeah. Okay. If you're listening, if anyone in China is listening to this and happens to be working in textile archaeology, I'll put Ronja's links in the show notes, so get in touch. Well, hopefully the excellent collaboration and the excellent community building starts to extend more into international waters soon as well, then, hopefully. And you mentioned how indeed it's such a sort of welcoming community. So if people are listening in and thinking, oh, I never knew I could do textiles archaeology. I mean, it already sounds like there's definitely more than one way to enter the field. Like you said, you don't even have to look at the textiles themselves. You can look at statues, or you can look at chemistry, or you can look at all kinds of different things. Would there be something that you would really strongly suggest? Okay, there's multiple paths, but this is one thing you definitely need to, I don't know, a skill for your belt, or a contact to be made, or a network event to attend, or something like that is sort of essential to become a textile archaeologist.
Yeah, I think the skill set is, of course, very different depending on what you want to do. But the main starting point, I think, is always to go out and try to network with the people which are there. So we have two big textile conferences in Europe. One is the Northern European Textile Symposium, short NESAT, which is taking place every 3 years. And the next one is, I think, next year in Glasgow. So if you want to see what is the current research doing in Central and Northern Europe, go there and have a look and meet the people. We are all really nice. We do fun stuff. We welcome everyone who wants to join. And the second one is the equivalent to the Northern European Symposium. It's the Purpure Vestas, which is the Mediterranean Textile Conference. It was last year in Lisbon, and it is also like in 2 years somewhere else. I forgot actually where it was. But if you're more interested in Mediterranean textiles, you should go there. I would say like 30% of the people stay the same in both of the conferences, because there's, of course, like it's not a clear cut, of course. But go out there and talk to people. And if you want to find a research project, I think that the best thing is to talk and say like, I'm from here, I would love to do that. And maybe you have something for me and I'm interested. And just go for it.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, indeed, we've been talking, obviously, both Ronja and I are based in Europe, so that is why we've been focusing on European institutions. But I mean, I'm sure that there are also associations in other parts of the world. So if you're listening from another part of the world and don't want to move to Europe, which, fine, whatever. But then I'm sure, you can look up and find local appropriate ones as well. But I also find, I always suggest to people, if they try to ask me how to get involved in XYZ, I always sort of just say, you just have to network, really. It's one of the big ones that I kind of wish I'd done more of when I was starting, because, I definitely didn't do it as much as I had. And now I'm trying to do it, but I don't have the funding for it. So it's becoming a lot more expensive. But anyway, I think we've come to the end of this particular tea break. But before we get back to work, Ronja, do you have any exciting, events or plans coming up? You've mentioned already that there's an exhibition in the museum, but anything else? Or if not, then how can people sort of find out about what you're doing, any updates, etc.?
Yeah, let's think for a second. So as this is my last year, I'm mostly focusing now actually on writing my PhD. But I will be, so people who are into experimental archaeology, this year the X-Arc is taking place in Berlin. Matilda, as you know.
I'm aware, yeah.
And I will give 2 spinning workshops on this conference. So if you want to come to Berlin and learn about textile craft, there are also different textile people there, not only me, but also another one. And I will teach you how to spin a thread. So if you want to join, you are very welcome.
Well, I'll be there too, spinning, tangling, doing everything wrong in the background.
Sure.
And where can people best follow you in the digital world to find out what you're doing?
if you want to find out what cringeworthy things I do in the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram. Matilda will probably put my handle somewhere, and you can always follow what I do in the office and in the museum, what the results of my new reconstructions are. I will always post this on my Instagram.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much, Ronja, for coming back and talking to me again. I've learned, I feel like even though we talk about similar topics each time, I learn something new every time I talk to you.
That's great.
So
Yeah.
it just goes to show, right, how ever evolving the field of textile archaeology is. So thank you so much for coming to chat to me again.
Thanks, Matilda.
And I hope that everyone listening enjoyed this tea break. If you did, please do like, follow, subscribe, etc. Wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review. That really helps us as well. It helps to support the show. Don't forget to check out the other shows on the APN for more fun archaeology content. And if you'd like to learn more about archaeological textiles or about Ronja's work, you can find all of the links and the contact information in the show notes. Thank you for joining me on this tea break. If you like this episode, please do like, follow, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to check out the other shows on the APN for more fun archaeology content. And if you'd like to learn more about the topic of today's episode, make sure to check the show notes for links and further information.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. The Archaeology Podcast Network's chief editor is Rachel Roden. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy. Our social media and newsletter coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht. The APN was founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle on December 1st, 2014. We're supported by our amazing podcast hosts, many volunteers, and listeners like you. Check out membership at www.archpodnet.com/members.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.